I know that basically everyone knows that you just simply cannot hate the mainstream media enough. Well, just the other day, the New York Times put out an article on Benny Johnson. They don't care for Benny Johnson, and they also don't care for what's true and what's untrue. Now, I think criticizing Benny for sensational titles, sure, I do it too. Bringing up his past from the plagiarism thing, which was a million years ago. He obviously learned from that, I guess, fine. But then to minimize the risk that his family was in. A lot of people maybe don't know this, but there was an arson when Benny Johnson lived in D.C. There was an arson attack that burnt the house next to him and made his house uninhabitable anymore. So the New York Times wrote this entire hit piece trying to out Benny for, I guess, for his house not totally burning to the ground, but only being uninhabitable. They said that he lied about his wife and child being in danger when you can see very clear evidence of the fire department arriving, breaking down the door, and getting his wife and child out of a burning home. A home that, by the way, burned so badly and so quickly, they couldn't even get their pets out of it. So he lost his dogs in that fire, too, which is, brutal. I don't have kids, but I have dogs, and that would be just thinking about, it is just gross. Everything about it is gross. So then they write this article. He plagiarized and promoted falsehoods. The White House embraces him. Benny Johnson is a right-wing podcaster who has enjoyed rare access and promotion from the Trump administration. The day after President Trump announced a federal takeover to law enforcement in Washington, the White House invited podcaster Benny Johnson to sit in as what called the new media seat at the administration's press briefing. The privilege includes being called on by the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt. Mr. Johnson took the opportunity at the briefing to recount what he claimed was his own experience with crime in the nation's capital in recent years. He said that he had recorded people losing their life on camera outside of his home. He says, and that his house was set ablaze in an arson. Any claims that Washington wasn't dangerous, he said, were lies. Thank you for making the city safe because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, Mr. Johnson told Ms. Leavitt. In fact, police records show nobody lost their life since at least 2017 on the block where Mr. Johnson lived in Washington. And his home was not burned, though his next door neighbor's house was intentionally set on fire. According to the city's fire department, Mr. Johnson left Washington permanently in 2021. So let me address this paragraph, okay, after going through all the evidence, and I'll share my evidence with you too, all right? From what I gathered, maybe it's just a turn of phrase, right? People right outside my front door are getting, losing their life. Did he mean that literally or figuratively, like a block away or 2 blocks away? I know for a fact he has security camera footage of somebody taking an unrequested lead injection on his front lawn. And I know for a fact that his house burned down. And I know for a fact that the police and the fire department had to break down his door, which we're going to take a look at, okay? This entire hit piece is basically a semantics thing. Like, well, technically, your house didn't burn to the ground, even though he could never live in it again, and it was considered a total loss by the insurance company. Well, people didn't actually lose their life in your front yard. It was just it was 2 blocks away. I'm sure if any of you, if I think about a crime happening, I'll say it's right in my own backyard, right? Such details didn't stop Ms. Leavitt from leapfrogging off his comments to promote the president's federalization of Washington's law enforcement. Since taking office, Mr. Trump and his aides have routinely excoriated traditional news outlets for what they call misleading and dishonest reporting, but the White House has no such reservations about Benny Johnson, who have documented a history of playing fast and loose with the facts. This new media personalities enjoy rare access. This whole thing is a cope, by the way. This whole thing is a cope about, new media having better access. That's what this is, just so we know. Just so you guys know. The whole thing is a cope. Among them are Jack Posobiec, who helped spread Pizzagate conspiracy theory, and last year stated that his goal was to overthrow democracy. Well, okay. Tim Pool, a podcaster who last fall was... By the way, the mainstream media gets to add... Let me just put this also in perspective. The mainstream media gets to ask Donald Trump hundreds of questions a day. Once a month, a podcaster gets to ask what is, I'm sure, a pre-written question. And the mainstream media is having a complete mental breakdown. Even among that group, Mr. Johnson has a large follower count on YouTube and a daily popular podcast. He stands out for his checkered journalistic record. Over the years, he has been fired from one job for plagiarism, which again was many years ago, suspended from another for publishing an article containing unfounded conspiracy theories. Well, conspiracy theories are just truths that we don't know the truth, that we haven't confirmed yet. There sure were a lot of conspiracy theories during the lockdowns that ended up being right. Right? Nonetheless, Mr. Johnson has repeatedly been given access to high-level Trump administration. I mean, this whole thing is a cope. Mr. Johnson, a father of four who's originally from Iowa, got to start in the media in 2011 at The Blaze. The Right of Center website is started by former Fox News host Glenn Beck. He quickly showed talent in creating memes and viral content. He jumped to BuzzFeed in 2012. Okay, he was let go. Again, 2012. So 13 years ago, he made a mistake. If you think that should color your opinion on him now, I think that's fine. But, I'm pretty sure he had, atoned for that, right? Again, this whole thing is a wild cope. On any given day, Mr. Johnson cranks out 3 or 4 YouTube videos, a 2-hour podcast, an Instagram story or 2, and a dozen posts on X covering a variety of topics, but unwavering support of Trump's agenda. So the mainstream media does the exact same thing, but in the opposite direction, right? Criticizing Donald Trump. So what's the difference? Answer, there is no difference. He said, my home was burned to the ground and the people lost their lives in my front yard. Several days later, he posted footage on X with a security camera outside his former home, showing what life was for a family living in D.C. The edited videos include the sound of weapons firing and someone crashing through a bush into the front yard of Mr. Johnson's row house, followed by firefighters and police officers ramming the door of the adjoining property as smoke billowed from the property. I mean, what is it? Again, the whole thing is absolutely bonkers to me. Bonkers. So the whole thing is like, well, it was still standing. There were a few boards still standing, so his wife was never in danger. By the way, look at what this scumbag reporter texted Benny. And again, you can not like Benny, but I think we can all agree that we don't like the media more, right? Here's a text from the author of this hit piece. You have stated that your wife and children's lives were in danger, were put at risk, and they nearly died. That cannot be confirmed or denied based on police and fire reports, which make no mention of neighbors being at risk. Really? How about this? Let's look at the fire. Here they are breaking. Look at the smoke coming out here. The house is very clearly, there's a big fire. There's somebody on the street that yells, there's a baby in there. See, they're talking about Benny Johnson's house. Look at this fire. And by the way, right here in the upper right where you see all the smoke coming out, that's his kid's bedroom. Here they're using a crowbar to open Benny Johnson's door. This does not look to me like they're not in any danger. There's Benny Johnson's wife and young child coming out. It sure looks like people in the neighboring buildings are being evacuated because of the fire. By the way, he shares a picture. Yes, our newborn baby was in our arms. This is my daughter's room. This is every parent's nightmare. The New York Times does not think this amounts to danger. This is his daughter's room right here. This is the house burning right there. What if they were taking a nap? Everyone would have perished. But, you know, this is a complete, like, you don't like Benny, that's fine. Criticize his clickbait titles and his red emoji sirens saying the walls are closing. And remember when we were going to get Epstein arrest? When is that going to happen? Okay, fine. He plays the game better than just about anybody, and that can put some people off. But to say that his, you know, this says the New York Times just wrote a hit piece targeting my wife and children. The angle was there's, quote, no proof that my newborn child was in any danger when a home in D.C. was severely damaged by an arsonist. So I'm posting the proof here. Watch my security cameras capture D.C. police officers use a crowbar to rip my front door open as neighbors scream, there's a baby inside. Black smoke from the inferno fills my child's nursery. Moments later, my terrified wife runs out of the home with her newborn baby in her arms, which we saw. We lived in a row house, and the house next to us was a total loss. Both their dogs did not survive the fire. Our home was rendered completely uninhabitable due to the damage from the fire. We had to live in a hotel for months. This was the worst day of my life. I almost lost everything. I moved my family to Florida swiftly afterwards. In spite of all of this hard evidence and the police reports, the New York Times still do not think my wife and newborn were in danger that day. This is a kind of dehumanizing propaganda that actually gets people to lose their lives. From the celebration of the attempts on Trump life to the refusal to pray for child victims of the Minneapolis incident, the left's goal is to never grant sympathy to regular Americans, even if they're innocent children. You should judge a man by his enemies, and I'm proud to have the New York Times work so hard on a hit piece about me. It's a badge of honor, a rite of passage in the industry, but leave my children and wife out of it. My attorneys have notified the New York Times that we will not suffer defamation or libel against my family. Tread lightly. Florida juries do not take kindly to New York left-wing political assassins going after Floridian children. Finally, I'm proud to fight with the Trump administration for the security of every American. It's pretty obvious that he was in danger. This author's like, well, I mean, if they had been in that house for 5 minutes longer, they might all have passed out from smoke inhalation and died. Here's Meghan McCain. Oh my God, is that your wife running out of the house? So if Benny didn't have this security footage, right, he would never have been able to debunk this. And the New York Times wrote an immense piece to say, well, it's not like your baby wasn't on fire, so we can't totally prove it. Absolute scumbags. Obviously, I'm glad that his family escaped that home. There are many angles of attack that you can criticize Benny Johnson on, but this bizarre pro-crime angle that the left has taken is one of their dumbest yet, and I just hope they keep doing it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't, please subscribe or follow down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.